Thank you for double-clicking your mouse tonight. You're listening to the Midnight Frightcast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Midnight Frightcast, episode number 63. I am one of your hosts, Josh. Sitting in Omaha tonight, or calling in from Omaha, is our Doctor of Filmonomics, Greg the Movie Guy.
What is happening, my brethren and sisterin?
Sitting across the table from me, as not as usual, but it's Maddie.
Hey.
And of course, to my right is the Doctor of Everything Else, Patrick.
Hey, everybody, how's it going?
I don't get a title this time, so I guess I just
forgot it.
fucking pissed Josh off.
I fucking forgot
the Scream Queen.
The Scream Queen. Can you edit this back? Can you just edit in Scream Queen and then take it from here and then move it over to here?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, cool. We can start over. We watched the trailer tonight for the new film, 2019's Rabid. Who wants to start? And everybody dives in.
Who's foaming at the mouth to do this?
He's foaming at the, we got jokes tonight. We're on fire. Everybody's got a lot of energy. That means Patrick wants to start.
Oh, you fucker.
You chimed in, dude.
Well, to me, it looks like a Saskia Sister movie. It just has that element. It has that feel to it. Plus, I mean, you see them in the trailer as well. It looks like it's going to be a really interesting movie. I did not see the original. It's a remake. I don't remember.
David Cronenberg.
Thank you. Cronenberg had done the original. It looks interesting. It has almost a sense of, I don't want to say paranormal to it, but there was that one bit where the body kind of jerked back into position, which seemed really, really not normal, even by any physical standard with it. So I don't know if that is an element to it or not, but I think this is one I would like to chase down.
Yeah, I definitely want to see David Cronenberg's version of Rabid. I think you can. There's no way you cannot not find that streaming somewhere. But I definitely like to see that before I see this. It's got a weird color palette to it also that I noticed they did this time around. Usually, their palette is not so colorful in all their other films, but I liked it a lot. The blues and the purples and the reds and stuff. I liked that whole thing they had going there. I'm super interested in. I like their stuff. I like the Saskia Sisters stuff. I like what they've done. I've seen most of it, so I'll definitely chase down Rabid whenever it. I don't know. Did you see if it's going to get a theatrical release?
It does have a release date, so I'm assuming that there's a theatrical release. It didn't necessarily say that it was DVD and digital.
Cool, Maddie.
I'm super excited for this. I loved American Mary, which was the first from them that I've seen.
Yeah.
And I think I've also talked about my odd fascination with rabies.
A couple times.
Yeah, so a couple times. So anything that kind of bases off that, I am really interested to see. I'm also just that clip in the movie where they were talking about a rabies outbreak. I thought that was really interesting with it too. I'd be really interesting to see how they represented the rabies virus, because a lot of times it's very overblown when, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's like a terrifying disease, but when they show it on film and in movies for, theatrical purposes, they kind of tend to exaggerate just a tad.
Well, you would expect it to be heightened. Otherwise it would not be as interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it is really interesting to watch someone's decline with rabies. But
Have you done that? Have you done that?
No.
Oh, okay. I was curious. He was talking about it. I'm
no, but it can take months for people to die from rabies. So, I can see them being like, let's get this done. Let's get this done quickly. Yeah. But it would be really interesting to see a really realistic representation of it. But, but either way, I don't care if it's over theatrical or not. I'm all about this.
I'll find it.
Yeah.
Greg?
Of most of the trailers that we've watched up until this point have been kind of either fence sitters or have no desire to watch. I saw this and I thought, oh my God, thank you. This one looks awesome. The story that they just told in the trailer was phenomenal. I think there was 6 different turns that they took in that story until they actually got to the rabies situation. And I was hooked from the first shot of that trailer. So I'm definitely excited to check it out. I'm praying to all good things pure that they will not bomb this in the theatrical release or however they release it and make the trailer look better than the movie actually is. So thumbs up for me. I'll definitely check it out.
But everybody's going. Everybody's seeing Rabid.
I would love to see
however
it.
it releases in whatever way.
Yes.
Cool. Everybody's got news but myself, so I will hand over the news to you all. I said news, so I prompted it, so I'm just waiting for Patrick and Greg to sing. There we go. I should have just let them fucking forget, right? That's the way I
got to be honest, I almost did forget.
Yeah,
until you brought
let it go.
Up.
Yep.
Never going to happen, Josh. Never going to happen.
And if we do forget, I'm going to go back and edit it in from some other
episode.
podcast. Yeah.
Maddie, what's your news?
My news is was a movie called The Hunt from Universal Pictures, and they decided to pull it because there is a lot of gun violence in this movie and in the trailer, and they decided with the recent mass shootings that it would be inappropriate to release this at the moment. And the movie plotline is apparently about, and this is a quote from the Vox article that I looked at, it's liberal elites hunting Trump voters. So,
Wow.
this is just me and I'm not going to make this political.
Thank you.
I think that's a super tacky just thing anyway.
Yeah.
Just that, I don't know why that I read that and was like, wow, that's kind of a tacky fucking plot line.
On either side of the line. That's
Right.
No, on
Yeah,
every,
yeah.
just all across the board. To me, that's so tacky.
Yeah, I got you.
So, but I actually really applaud them for pulling that right now. I've seen some movies that have been like released right after like something happens or like a news story, and I'm just like, that was really terrible timing.
Or, they
They-
make, bullet
They
for
did
Columbine,
something
but
similar.
whatever.
Sorry to interrupt. They did something similar after the attacks on 9/11. There was a TV show that was going to air, and it had something to do with the Twin Towers, and they pulled it because of that. So I actually applaud them for doing that. I think that's a classy move.
Yeah, I do too. Although, because America has so much gun violence, when are you ever going to release this movie when it's
Right.
not going to be tacky?
Exactly.
Right.
That is true.
When we've had more mass shootings than days in the year
Right.
in 2019, that's exactly right.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like, what do you do? I don't think, like, just reading this, I was like, wow, I don't really think that movie should have been made. But, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But that's kind of my news.
Cool. Patrick?
Yeah. All I got to say, it's good to be the king. If we're talking about Stephen King.
Stephen King.
Oh,
Yeah.
for real, yeah.
Yeah, because
I'm
it's now,
making that paper.
Yeah, it's now been announced that Lizzie's story is coming to the small screen, that they have cast Julianne Moore in the lead role, and it appears to be directed by Pablo Larraín.
Does anybody know anything about that? Is that a short story that's been
I do not
adapted?
know this story.
Okay,
I
I have
assume
no
it's a
idea.
short story because I don't remember it being the title of a book.
Right.
I think it's a book.
I would have to look that up.
Yeah.
Anyway, Apple is giving him an 8-episode straight-to-series order in which he is adapting himself.
And see, I think it's you guys were talking about this. Sorry, in the group message, like that. We kind of talked about it a while back about how Stephen King's not the greatest. Like how
He's not the greatest screenwriter.
but
right?
he's dabbled a lot more lately in the stuff that has been coming out.
Yeah.
And wrote a whole new scene for It Chapter 2. So I mean, I don't think there's anyone better to translate your stuff than yourself.
Yeah, I would disagree with that because I think some of the movie adaptations have been better than what he has done with his own books. And I'm going to throw like Misery, Stand By Me, Shawshank Redemption, those movies, like the Darren Bott movies and stuff like that have been handled so much better than what King has done with his own material.
Okay.
And just so you guys know, he has 16 movies and 8 TV shows in the works right now.
That's so ridiculous.
Oh, man.
It is insane. It Chapter 2, Doctor Sleep, The Bone Church, Creep Show, The Dark Tower, Drunken Fireworks from a Buick 8, Firestarter, Hearts in Atlantis, In the Tall Grass, The Jaunt, Joyland, Lizzie's Story, The Long Walk, Mile 81, The Outsider, My Pretty Pony, Revival, Salem's Lot, Sleeping Beauty, The Stand, The Talisman, and The Tommyknockers.
I love The Long Walk, though.
Long Walk's
I'm
great.
Are they not giving him
excited.
credit for Castle Rock? That's his too, right?
That is his. Well, it's not
Essentially.
but it's not an adaptation.
It's not
of
an adaptation,
His,
it's-
it's
But
his
it
world.
lives in this universe, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm sure he's getting money for that one too.
Right.
So
God
That's crazy.
damn.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then quickly, my second set of news was Snickers is offering to give away 1 million bars of Halloween candy. So if they change the date of
Snickers
Halloween,
can go fuck itself.
Snickers is trying to get up to 150,000 people to sign a petition in an attempt to get the federal government to change the date to the last Saturday of October. Personally, I could give a shit when it was, as long as they celebrate it.
I still think it would be great to just leave that day how it is and be like, this is Halloween, but then you have like a national trick-or-treat day at the last Saturday of the month.
I mean, I'm not as old as Patrick, but I mean...
Oh, you suck.
I have grown up for this many years with Halloween being October 31st, and to me, it would just be weird if October 31st came around and it wasn't Halloween. It would just feel strange to me.
Why wouldn't you can celebrate twice?
I don't want to. I don't need it. But you're not. You
won't.
Saturday is for. They want to put it on the last Saturday so all the drunk people can go out there and party and not have to go to work the next day.
I know. I'm one of those drunk people.
Yeah, but I mean, you can do that any Saturday of the month, right? I mean, you've got 4 Saturdays in the month that you can drink as much as you want to and sleep the next day. Why does it have to be on Halloween when traditionally it's been?
Here's
October
what
31st.
I'm hearing you say is that we should have Halloween every Saturday of October. Is that what you said?
Sold.
Yeah,
Sold.
I'm giving you shit.
No, I understand. It's just like, I mean, I understand you can't go out as late because it might be on a night you got to be responsible and get up the next day. But I mean, it's Halloween's October 31st, and that's just the way it's been. And I guess, I mean, call me old fashioned, I guess, but it'd be weird if I woke up one day and it's like, oh, it's the last Saturday and it's October 28th. So today's Halloween. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Cool. That'd be weird to me.
Maybe what they should do is just give people November 1st off. Like, make that the federal holiday, and then we could all
there you go.
Just
that'd be fun.
Not go in the next day. Kids don't have to go to school the next day. Like, just floating it out there into the universe to just make that a national holiday.
I don't know. I have kids, so we go out and trick or treat every year. We're just done by 8 o'clock, I guess, on a Wednesday night if we have to be, and they can eat their candy tomorrow.
Josh, I gotta ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, how mad would you be if your kids went up to a house and they were given Kraft Singles cheese?
How mad would they be, or how mad would I be?
Yes.
Which, I don't know which one. I mean, if they were handed a piece of Kraft cheese, they would say thank you, like they're supposed to, and then they'd ask me if I'd want some cheese.
I see your kids coming up and say, dude, what the fuck?
Right? They probably would. They might do that, too. But they would be polite to the person to their face.
I just wondered, last Saturday, all we had in the house to like give out was Kraft Singles cheese. Like, luckily, we didn't have kids come into our house, or our apartment, but I was just
last week.
Sorry.
We're celebrating Halloween in August now.
Yes, we are. God damn it.
I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday.
But she's celebrating on Halloween.
We're celebrating the early harvest.
Get all kids in my ass.
Was that it, Patrick?
That's all I got right there.
Yes, and Snickers can, do what it's got to do. Greg, what's your news?
Josh, I'd actually, just to jump back really quick, I won't
please.
too long. I do agree with you. I think Halloween should be always October 31st. There's something special about the 31st. If they have to change it, there's only one day that they can change it to, and that would be the 13th.
That is, yeah.
But that's only if it's on a Friday.
You get it'd be like a leap year type holiday, but still you celebrate on the 13th because why wouldn't you celebrate Halloween on the 13th?
Sure.
So my news here actually kind of stems from a little conversation I believe Maddie and I had last week regarding a special little article title about a Netflix piece of content that was a bunch of bull crap. And guess what? They've done it again. Terrifying Netflix movie Eerie leaves fans opting to sleep with the lights on.
I've never even heard of that one.
I don't know what else. They said it literally just dropped.
Eerie.
Eerie.
Fun fact. I have tagged this for our next episode, so all of us get to watch it and see if they are legitimate in what they're talking about.
See, that doesn't count for me because I always sleep with the lights on.
Me too. Or a light.
Take it for what you will. I don't think we're going to win with this thing. They're just going to keep throwing out these garbage article titles.
What they're going to do is they're going to find the one case that makes their comment legitimate.
I almost don't want to watch any of these now because I feel like I'm like every time I click on their movie, like I'm feeding into their bullshit.
I read a little bit into the article, and what they're pulling these from is tweets that people are sending out. So this one says, just watched Eerie on Netflix, and guess who will be sleeping with the lights on for a week?
Oh, yeah.
So these are based on tweets. Let that sink in.
What the fuck?
So
Well,
we'll be watching Eerie for our next episode just to see how legitimate these headlines are.
It's really no different than like when they put quotes on posters and DVDs when
Right.
it's not necessarily a legitimate critic or anything like that.
Right.
They'll say a name from Podunk, Nebraska, blah, 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 blah. But it's not really like an acclaimed critic that it's done it. So it's really no
Right.
different. It's just that these claims are so outrageous.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
And maybe that's what it is. It's just a huge marketing ploy to get people to go and read the article and watch the content. But I think they need to quit.
Well, I think it's like reverse psychology because what they're doing is like they're daring all the like extreme horror, like the mega horror fans to be like,
Sure.
"Oh, fuck that! I got some balls. I'm not gonna
watch
sleep
it.
with these lights on."
sleep
Step up, Maddie.
off.
Maddie, step up.
Yeah.
They're challenging you. This
I
is-
know.
This is darker than August Underground.
Okay.
So that was my news.
That's nuts.
Cool. Yeah, like I said, I didn't have any news because I did my homework tonight the same way I did my homework in high school. I didn't.
Didn't do it.
So we'll move on to what we've been watching.
All right. Well, Greg.
That
That
was the news.
Do we have a new music segment for what we've been watching? I just shit.
the outro, baby.
What have we been watching, guys? We've been off for a little bit. We took
Actually,
a long
I'll
break.
jump in here really quick.
Go, Greg.
So, based on basically the same thing that we were just talking about, I jumped onto Netflix and went to check out Typewriter because of that stupid article headline that I wanted to see if it was accurate.
It's working.
Yeah, I know,
working,
sad,
yeah,
right? So I watched a couple episodes of Typewriter. It's good, except for the fact that it's English overdub on an Indian TV series, and that makes it really hard to watch. So the shots are really cool. Some of the spookier images are really nice, but I can't keep going with it because the overdub is just throwing me. So I can't really speak to the headline that was posted.
Did it make you
if
shit your pants or whatever it said?
Oh my God, it did not.
Bonus points though if you shit your pants.
Right. So when I decided that one wasn't going to work, I jumped over to Amazon Prime and I watched a series, the entire series called The Boys. It is fantastic, actually. Really, really dark.
I'm going to start that this week, actually.
You'll appreciate it. I'm trying to get Josh to jump on board because I feel like this is the superhero type of content that he would appreciate.
Yeah, I'm trying to find time to watch anything at this point. I have 19 days until Husker football starts, and I'm trying to get my basement done. So that's what I've been doing.
Start binging, buddy.
That's what I've been watching. My basement finish itself.
Oh, God.
Are you done, Greg? Is that it?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, cool. Maddie, what do you got?
I actually, Sunday was my first day off since May 13th, so I actually got to watch stuff, and that's all I did was I actually just laid in bed and watched bullshit. And I watched In Bruges, which is one of my favorite movies. It has got Colin Farrell in it, and it's fucking fantastic.
What is it called?
In Bruges.
In Bruges?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's great. It's on Netflix. And then I watched Saving Mr. Banks. Is that what it's called?
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yes, that is a great movie.
I love that movie. I love Tom Hanks. Not my normal watch.
Yeah.
Then I started Inside the Criminal Mind on Netflix, which was hot garbage. It was basically just a bunch of bad, crappy reenactments. It was just real bad. And then my boyfriend and I watched My Strange Addiction on TLC for like 4 hours, and I feel really normal now. Like real normal. So yeah, that's what I've been watching.
Cool. Patrick?
Yeah, it started off as kind of like a road trip weekend for me because I watched Wrong Turn.
Oh, nice.
I'd never seen that before.
Really?
So, yeah.
You've never seen Wrong Turn?
Yeah, I'd never seen it before. And,
Do you want to see the other 5 now?
I could, but I'm not in a rush
do it.
to or
Don't
anything.
do it, Patrick.
But I did that because it was mentioned during my comment about Hillbilly Month or whatever,
Right.
Hillbilly Horror Month or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I followed that up with Dead End.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with that one.
I've heard of it.
It's kind of like this thing that it keeps repeating. They can't get off the road ever.
Okay.
It's an older film.
Okay.
But then I must have hit a dead end because that's where my road trip stopped. I did go to the theater and see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, nice.
Tarantino at his best, I think. I
Really?
really enjoyed it. It's not typical Tarantino in the sense of overuse of foul language and violence, because
That's
that
too
didn't
bad.
really kick in until like the last act
Okay.
of the film. But it still kept my attention all the way through. The acting was phenomenal. Both Pitt and DiCaprio were really amazing in this. It followed it was about he played the neighbor to Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski. So there was that overlap with the Manson family and all this other stuff,
Gotcha.
but it goes in a different direction,
Gotcha.
which is really cool. So I really enjoyed that movie. And then I got kind of hooked on a Netflix series called Working Moms.
Oh, yep. I heard that. Yep.
That is hysterical.
That is such a good series. And I binged that thing like in 3 days. So
Wow.
I recommend that to anybody.
The lead in that is the daughter of Jason Reitman, or Ivan. No, is it Jason Reitman or Ivan Reitman?
It's a
Who's the older
Reitman, I
one?
know that.
Yeah, she's the daughter of one of the elder Reitmans.
Yeah, and since she stars in it, she writes it, and I think she directs it.
Yeah.
She's just incredibly talented, and the cast is really talented as well.
Where do you place Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in Tarantino's?
Oh,
Where would you put it? Just out of curiosity.
probably about fourth,
Okay.
I would say.
Behind, what would you say?
Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
Behind Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah,
and Kill Bill.
Okay, perfect. All right. That's what I was curious about.
Yeah. So that's it for what I've been watching.
Cool. Yeah, real quick. I only have a couple things. One of my favorite shows on Netflix is dropping off of Netflix on September 1st. And I've watched the whole series like 3 or 4 times now, but I found that out, so I was like, I'm going to watch it one more time before I either have to let it go or go buy the series on Blu-ray. And I fucking love Californication. That is just one of my favorite shows on Netflix. I'm not a huge David Duchovny fan. Never watched him in X-Files, but there's just something about him in that show and the writing and the characters of that show that I just click with. So I've been binging Californication as I've been painting my basement.
That is a really great show.
It's so good. So September 1st it drops off, so I'll be really bummed that that's gone. But then I did check out a Netflix original called Girls with Balls, and it was a ton of fun. It's about a volleyball team that gets lost in the woods on their way home from a tournament, or their bus breaks down, and they end up at this like backlot hillbilly hotel kind of thing, and piss these guys off, these like hunters off, and they end up running from them for the entire movie, and then turning the tables on the hunters and fighting back. And it's dubbed and it is subtitled, and the dubs and the subtitles don't match. So they're saying one thing, but the subtitles say something completely different.
That's awesome.
So that was a lot of fun. Like, it's almost like watching 2 movies because there's nothing matched. But the movie overall, it's a Netflix original. It was a ton of fun. I liked it a lot. So
Where is it? Like, what language was it in?
I have no fucking idea.
It's called Girls with Balls.
It's called Girls with Balls.
Okay. Because I watched one called Chicks with Dicks, and it wasn't the same thing.
Not the same thing?
No, not at all.
Was that on Netflix too?
It wasn't on Netflix.
Oh, weird.
Was it a dick pic?
Dick pics.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'd definitely check that. It's short too, Maddie.
There you
it's
go.
in that,
And she writes it
like
down.
An hour and 10 minutes or something like that. An hour 11 minutes. It's quick. So yeah, check out Girls with Balls.
Cool.
Why not? Let's move on to our topic. Patrick's gonna bring us into this one because I have no fucking idea what we're talking about. So, Patrick.
What we've been trying to do is make more of an effort to have the topic be more relevant to our feature film that we are reviewing. And we found it kind of difficult trying to come up with a topic this week because it's a wartime horror movie is what we're reviewing. And quite frankly, I don't think I've seen a ton of wartime horror movies. I know that there is a good handful of them out there. I just haven't seen a lot of them. So we're trying to base a topic off of that. And what we came up with is how war or things that are going on around us affect horror movies, how they influence horror movies, especially when they come out during a specific time. Mm-hmm. So topics or of discussion that I'm going to throw out are things such as horror films that reflect societal unease, specifically like in response to war, Vietnam War, World War I, World War II, or just anything going on, terrorism, that sort of thing. Threats of nuclear war, terrorism, as I talked about just a couple seconds ago, and just kind of throwing out that idea and basing it on movies that we saw and how they have been affected by these things.
So are you talking about like the societal thing, like during Vietnam, what horror films kind of came out that reflected what was going on in like not the Vietnam War, but like in society, like that kind of, you know what I mean?
Right. As an example, I'm going to throw out Night of the Living Dead was in direct response to the Vietnam War and what was going on in the United States with racial issues and everything else.
Gotcha.
So it was the political and social unease that movie came out of and represents. Okay. So here's one. I'm going to throw out nuclear war. That sparked a ton of movies such as Godzilla and The Blob. So the discussion then becomes, what do we recognize as having been influenced by social unrest and wars? Thoughts?
I'm trying to wrap my brain around it. Sorry.
Well, it's kind of like that book that I lent you, which I will admit is really hard to get into. The Monster Show. It's a cultural history of horror, and that's basically what the book talks about, is horror in response to what's going on in the United States. If anyone wants to read that, I definitely recommend checking it out. It's very technical and kind of heavy.
Yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't get into it.
No, I totally get it. But if anyone likes that kind of writing, it is a very interesting book. But yeah, I do think there is a trend that goes on. Like, a lot of our horror movies that are coming out right now are more like smart drama leaning horror movies, because like are movies that have a lot of social commentary, like Us and Get Out, and because that's kind of what's going on right now, is there's a lot more emotional unrest in the United States, so I think people are playing off of that.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Go ahead, Greg.
Sorry, I feel like there's a lot more realism in horror anymore, and kind of going off of what you're saying there, Maddie, is you're seeing a lot of racial tensions are still in the news, and you get these crazy type people, these fanatics that are out there, and I think horror has generated a lot from what's going on with that. So I kind of agree with that statement there.
Yeah, and like in the 70s and 80s, you were having like this big revolution with the youth of the country, and that's why I think a lot of movies during that time had the bad guy killing like the rebel or the person that was having like premarital sex because the people are smoking a joint, because the older generation was like, oh my god, our kids are out there enjoying themselves, we want to quash that. So I think that's why there were so many movies that were attacking younger people that were out doing that naughty stuff. So yeah, I think this is a good topic, because it happens. You get these waves of different horror movies that all kind of tend to have a theme, and even if the theme isn't overt, there's still a lot of the same types of movies.
Do you feel like there's a filmmaker that's just in every generation that's kind of attacked that, like George Romero, or like I said, John Carpenter, or now there's Jordan Peele. There's a filmmaker kind of every generation that has attacked that social or that whatever the political is going on at that time. Because it's not widespread. There's not a lot of filmmakers doing that, but there are there's just a handful or a small handful every generation that are attacking that topic.
I would believe that there's probably more than we know of, just because we can't see the immense volume of films that come out in a year.
Right.
And what determines the success of those movies, etc. I mean, we're then exposed to the ones that are the most popular.
Right, that's true.
Well, and horror is kind of a good genre to explore this, because it's easy to make those issues going on in the news like real and something that can be like attacked and fought. You know what I mean?
I just want to throw out a few more examples if it sparks more conversation. Horror films that reflect social unease, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and Nosferatu are actually the Weimar cinema response to World War I. And Universal Studios' iconic movie monsters represented what the U.S. was feeling at an unstoppable force at the time. Threat of Nuclear War, I already said, brought us the best movie monsters with Godzilla and the rest of his crew. Zombie movies of the 2000s, such as 28 Days Later, they stand as an example of radical groups, endless in number, seeking our destruction. So when we're talking like 9/11 and stuff like that, we know that there's this unstoppable force that we just can't seem to get rid of that is constantly coming after us. And there's a book that came out, and this is one that I want to try to get a hold of because the more I researched this one kept popping up. The book's called Wasteland, The Great War and the Origins of Modern Horror by W. Scott Poole. And he's quoted as saying, "The macabre has existed long before the Great War. In epics, Gothic novels, the work of Shelley and Stoker and Baudelaire. But new themes, what we connect with horror, dismemberment, mutilation, the dead that return for revenge, the sense that not only a house might be haunted, but that the whole world could become a charnel house. That this appeared for the first time and found a far larger audience." And basically what he was saying was, when society goes bad, horror gets good.
Interesting.
Well, we haven't hit the rock bottom yet because I don't like our horror right now.
The other filmmaker I would throw into that political social mix too is Guillermo del Toro, because he made Pan's Labyrinth, and
which is technically considered a wartime horror movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Devil's Backbone's kind of in there too, right?
It is. It's it was from the Spanish Civil War.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think he's a great example out there as well, making films on that.
Well, and like World War II, I think more than anything else, or any other war, has been a huge backdrop for a lot of horror. Yeah, there's been a ton of World War II movies, more than which I'm not. Is that because it was our last war, or because it last huge war?
I think it might be because of the genesis of the ability to make movies easier after a certain point, and it's something that's still relatable to people our age. Like, we can't really associate ourselves with World War I because it's so far removed from us. However, that's why I want to take a look at that guy's book, because that's where he's saying modern horror stems from, is actually from World War I. So I'd be interested to read that.
I'm gonna check that one out.
Okay. And how many of those movies is the war in the forefront versus the horror in the forefront? You know what I mean? Like, is the war the background, or is the horror that's going on in the background? Because for the one that we watched today, that I was kind of talking to Patrick about a lot, was like a lot of it was just war with like a horror kind of element. So how many of those that have been made focus on like the war, but there's like a horror element to that film?
Yeah.
Put a pin in that, because I want to come back to that when we're actually talking about the movie.
I mean, I'm going to fucking forget, but I mean, somebody put a pin in it.
Yeah.
I'll remember.
Okay.
I want to point that out.
And I mean, that's not to say there's not a lot of schlock out there. I mean, if you look at the Dead Snow series, where they just wanted to make...
I love Dead Snow.
Yeah, don't shit on those.
What I'm saying is, I mean, it's like they just wanted to have Nazi zombies. You know, was it an entertaining movie? Yes. Was it a political satire? Not necessarily satire, but a commentary on what's going on or what had happened? No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But it's still wartime horror. And it seems to be Nazi zombies is super popular when it comes to wartime
or
horror
like
movies.
Just like the movie we watched, like the super Nazi zombies. Because remember that bullshit ass movie I made you guys watch,
Frankenstein's Army.
Yeah, we had those going on. So.
But I mentioned Pan's Labyrinth and I mentioned Devil's Backbone because I brought up in the chat earlier about, I feel like there's a lot of paranormal kind of stuff going on in with that backdrop. Also, The Others is another good example. The Others has that war background going on during that film also. So I feel like there's a lot of, like I said, kind of, can't think of another word besides paranormal to throw out there, but ghosts and shit like that going on in the like war movies.
Yeah.
Well, and I can kind of see that because, like, I think it's almost so many people die during wars. So I think having ghosts and stuff in a movie like that is just kind of natural because there is so much death going on. Like, they're coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can all take away from this that Nazis are evil.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
entire.
Yeah.
I think that's the point of this whole conversation right there.
The Nazis are evil.
It's wrapped it up in a nice little bow.
Well, even, what was the one movie that you picked? It was a French movie.
Frontiers.
It was the father of the entire family was this Nazi guy and passing his own feelings and traditions down to his kids, which resulted in tons of violence. Yeah. And which,
what'd you say?
And
you heard what I said.
Which resulted in tons of violence. So I just think that it's interesting that we don't always look at these movies and see necessarily where they've been rooted from. And the more that I read about this, the more interested I became to do more research beyond this point to actually see, did someone just make a movie because they wanted to make money, or were they trying to make a point? Were they basing it on something? I think that's something that's often overlooked.
Yeah, because I mean, you can have movies where like you look up and do research in the movie, and they're like, oh, well, the movie was actually about this, and you're like, what? Or you have movies like Get Out, where that political commentary is so far in the forefront that you're kind of like, okay. And that's, as I said, why I really don't like movies with political commentary in it, because I see it everywhere. I see it on my Facebook. I see it on the news. So I watch horror as a kind of escape from all that. I don't want to see it, think about it, or discuss it any further just for 90 fucking minutes. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why I don't really pursue those movies at all. But like, it's interesting to think about, oh, I could be watching something and him, like, some guy's like stabbing a girl's titty, and I'm like, oh, well, he really means that women are facing a plight in America. But I don't know. I don't know.
I also feel like Maddie says titty at least one time on every podcast.
I think she does.
At least once.
Yeah.
So that's what I just took out of that whole conversation was Maddie says titty a lot.
I do.
There should be things that we should make drinking games out of.
Right.
Yes, that'd be so fun. Like every time Greg makes a weird noise, every time Maddie says titty.
Every time Greg interrupts the podcast with some sort of fucking weird thing. Greg.
There you go.
Like that.
Yeah. Where we don't know if he's like what he's doing when it sounds like he's grinding meat. We have no idea what's going on there.
Oh, I'm grinding meat, all right.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Is that a
Waiting for
or
it.
something?
Cool. Do we have a lot? Do we have more to kind of rock on this on this topic?
I don't think so.
I mean, it was definitely a topic that went with our feature film, and that's what we kind of been trying to do. Is kind of
we've been trying not to do a list.
Yeah, which I found very fucking difficult because it's so much easier to get on here and be like, tonight we're talking about the top 10 horror remakes list. Yeah. So much easier. It is easier, but the discussion's so much better.
I think it would have been tough to find a top 10 list of wartime movies.
I mean, I found a whole list. There's actually a lot
list,
more.
But it was movies that I'd not seen.
Yeah,
right?
I could throw The Predator on there because that was a wartime movie.
Yeah.
But I don't think I could find 10 that I would throw in a top 10 list without having seen more.
World War Z, you wouldn't throw that on the top 10 list? No. I was kidding. Should we move on to our feature?
Sure.
All right. Tonight we watched Overlord. Patrick, give the deets. I was going to try to give some details, and I was like, I got nothing. Patrick, Overlord.
There's a great lead in there.
Go.
Gosh. All right. Overlord, 2018, running an hour, 48 minutes. I found it on Amazon Prime. On the eve of D-Day, American paratroopers drop behind enemy lines to penetrate the walls of a fortified church and destroy a radio transmitter. As the soldiers approach their target, they soon begin to realize that there's more going on in the Nazi-occupied village than a simple military operation. Making their way to an underground lab, the outnumbered men stumble upon a sinister experiment that forces them into a vicious battle against an army of the undead.
I feel like that is kind of
misleading.
A
little bit.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Let's give the ratings. IMDb ratings 6.7. No.
Yeah, I was like, we're done now.
We're done.
We're done.
That's what we thought of the movie.
Go ahead.
IMDb rating 6.7. Metacritic's rating 60%. Rotten Tomatoes critic score 81%. Rotten Tomato audience score 67%.
I think 3 out of the 4 of those are really low.
What? Really?
Yeah.
You think they're low?
Mm-hmm.
You thought that much of the movie?
I liked the movie.
All
I
right.
did. I mean, I wouldn't drop it into no 60 fucking percent.
Okay.
But we haven't talked about it yet, so.
Well, the reason that I picked this movie was that, well, it's quite simple. I like World War II stuff, and I like horror movies. I like zombies. But most importantly, I picked it because it hit a butt ton of top 10 lists in 2018.
Did it really?
It did.
Did it?
It hit a lot of them. So I thought, hey, this is probably a good movie.
Right.
So yeah, I threw it in.
Cool. Well, I mean, do you want to kind of lead off with what you thought?
Sure, I can. What I saw, for the most part, disappointed me in the sense of I had higher expectations. Not that it disappointed me that it was a bad movie. It felt almost like it was two movies, that it was a World War II movie and then you had the horror element in the last act of the movie. Something I did appreciate about this movie, it was action from beginning to end. It didn't really slow down at all. Maybe in a couple places. But it didn't have, to me, as much of the undead zombie monster feel to it as it did to a bunch of soldiers fighting a super soldier, is kind of how I got the feeling about the movie. At the end, it almost felt like a horror version of Captain America fighting the Red Skull.
Okay. I don't know what that means, but cool. I didn't watch that movie, but I get it.
I don't like Captain America.
I didn't have comic book movies. Sorry. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Don't look at me like that. I don't know. I'm sorry. Red Skull sounds cool. Let's probably move on. I'm sorry.
No, that's my initial response to it.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the fact that it wasn't surrounded with a bunch of zombie horror. I liked the war aspect of this movie. I liked that I was able to appreciate the characters in the movie, and I enjoyed watching that more than I was really expecting a ton of zombies to come out, and just like, it was new, it was fresh, it wasn't just zombies from left and right, kill. Yeah, I appreciated the war aspect of it. It was action packed. That was super nice that from beginning to end. It went, and I don't think it really ever slowed down. I thought it was too long. I'll say that. And it took an hour into the movie to get to the monsters. I feel like that too. Yeah. I did separate this movie into 2 days because I could not. I started it too late, so I had to finish it today. But like I said, I appreciated the fact that it wasn't full of just zombies all over the place. And I also appreciated the fact that it wasn't Frankenstein's army. So,
but there was Frankenstein's...
Fucking fight me.
There was elements of Frankenstein's army in it because it was so... like the laboratory and stuff like that, that felt very much like Frankenstein's
Well, and
army.
when I was watching this, I was thinking, and I didn't write this down because I'm not Patrick and I'm not prepared when I'm watching these things. But I was like, this is a mix between Frankenstein's army and another movie, and I can't remember what other movie.
Saving Private
Ryan.
I've actually never seen Saving Private Ryan.
That's all right.
So I haven't, so I can't really compare it to that, but I was just thinking, and I'll probably remember it at like 3 a.m. I'll be like, oh my God, it was Frankenstein's army and something else.
I dug the opening to this movie.
Yeah.
The opening was really cool. The cinematography was really cool. It had this style to it that it was almost hyper realistic when it first started, with the explosions around the airplane and everything else, and then them paratrooping down. That I really appreciated. It just really got the movie going early.
Yeah, like I said, you got to get to know those characters right out of the gate. The ones that, sorry, spoiler kind of, the ones that survive the beginning. Because then you just followed those 4 characters throughout the whole thing. Yeah.
The only one that I felt was a little out of place was Corporal...
Ford?
That sounds right.
The blonde guy?
Yeah, Corporal Ford. He didn't seem like he was from the late 30s, 40s.
Gotcha.
Look and feel. He looked like he was kind of hippie-ish in a way and stuff like that. But the rest of them I thought fit him really, really well. The Private Tibbet I thought was pretty entertaining. He was the mouthy one.
The New York super thick accent one. Yeah, he was good. He reminded me of somebody, another actor, but I looked it up. It wasn't him. So, but he just sounded exactly like this other actor, but it wasn't him. But yes, I don't know. I dug the movie. So but that was me not knowing anything coming into this movie.
And the fight choreography was pretty freaking cool in it as well. This was originally supposed to be a Cloverfield movie, and then they completely changed it at the last minute.
Nice.
Yeah, I knew Cloverfield. Is that why J.J. Abrams was attached to it?
I think so.
Okay. I saw that. So he had nothing to do with it other than, he was a producer on it. Yeah, I remember mentioning last year that it was supposed to be a Cloverfield. And it has nothing to do. I mean, it doesn't even work as a Cloverfield movie.
Well, I heard they completely changed the script altogether.
Gotcha. Hey, Greg, we haven't heard from you yet. You're still here, right?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Are you outside now?
Are you on a walkie-talkie? What are you calling in from?
I'm actually sitting in my car right now, so forgive me. I'm headed to my next destination. I apologize.
Oh, for fuck's sake. All right,
Getting
Craig.
abducted again.
He's been abducted again. That was the weirdest thing.
Is your AC on? Because it sounds like you're like in the.
Don't make him turn his AC off. It feels like the devil's asshole out there.
It sounds like somebody put him in a washing machine.
It does.
Greg, what did you think of the movie?
So I kind of agree with Patrick in this. Like I was really excited to check this movie out for a little more personal reasons. Not that I have any experience with fighting super Nazi soldiers in World War II, but Josh and I had originally worked on a script a while back that had a very, very similar storyline to what Overlord was. Josh, I don't know if you remember that one.
No. I've written a lot of shit, so I don't know.
Oh, I know you have. So I was very interested in checking this one out.
Literal shit.
There was a lot of good opportunities for this movie to just like be a rock star that it is, and it just kind of fell flat in some places, which I was a little bit bummed about. The best parts that stood out for me in this were the cinematography. I loved the really faded and really
this is going to be a fucking editing nightmare for you, Patrick.
I know it is.
Do you want me to stop? I can hang up.
No, you're just cutting in and out, bud. Sorry. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. Shit, 2 seconds. I really liked the cinematography about this. It was really shot very well. Loved the gritty, raw look to it. Really felt like a World War II film. The story I felt was a bit predictable for me. There was just, you knew where it was going from minute one, and that kind of took me out a little bit. I really appreciated the kind of the creature creation, or at least how you got to see the creatures sort of being created. One of the scenes that stuck out for me was when the main character, Boyce, I believe his name was wandering through the lab, and he saw I'm calling her the s'il vous plaît lady, who was the face with just the spine.
Yeah.
Really, really appreciated that. But overall, I felt like it was a decent movie. I was a little bit disappointed with the turnout because I believe we watched this trailer for one of our episodes, and it felt like it was going to be one of those like knockdown, drag out, throw down, all out zombie attack movies. And really, you didn't get that. You got a few of them here and there, and it was not really overly fantastic. So it was a good movie. Watching it get to the end point was fun. The ending was a disappointment, but I'm glad to have seen it. Probably won't ever watch it again. So we'll call it with that.
Okay. I mean, does anybody have any other thoughts?
I do.
Yeah, go, man.
I finally remembered what it was. I thought it was a cross between Frankenstein's Army and Inglourious Bastards.
Okay. Yeah,
that was the other one that I was sitting there thinking of, and I was like, fuck. Funny that Greg mentions that, because I actually watched this movie, and I was like, this is something my dad would really enjoy, because he loves war movies. And I texted him and said, you need to watch this. And he texted me and was like, I just watched the trailer. I'm not watching any of your weird horror movies. And he did appreciate the AC/DC in there, though. And I was like, no, this is kind of where the disconnect is, because the trailer, I feel, shows a totally different movie than what is happening. Because I told him, I was like, the horror weird aspect, as he calls it, is only in like a few small parts of the movie. Yeah. I think overall this is a war movie. I don't think he believes me, so I don't know if he's going to watch it or not. But Dad, if you're listening, I know you would enjoy this. But I actually liked this movie up to a certain point. And it wasn't bad after that point. It just kind of fell a little flat for me. I liked it up until the scene where I thought it was going to make more of a horror turn. Because, like, that lady who just had a head and a spine, that was genuinely kind of creepy. Yeah, and I was like, nice. Yeah, let's bring it on. And then it didn't go any further than that. And, like, the end fight scene to me between freaking Euron Greyjoy, I can't pronounce that poor man's name, so I'm not even going to try, and Corporal Ford, just the lines were really stupid to me. Like, just, I felt like they were just like, fuck. It felt like some, like, Captain America Marvel scripted thing. Just poorly comic book.
She's calling Captain America and Red Skull stupid, Patrick.
I don't like Captain America. I'm sorry. He's my least favorite superhero.
You guys are entitled to your own opinions.
Yeah, I still don't know who Red Skull is.
No matter how wrong they may
I think
be.
he has a red skull.
I'm guessing you're right.
I'm gonna get punched after this podcast.
Hugo Weaving plays him.
I know who Hugo Weaving is. Yeah. I loved him in Dragon Ball Daisy. Go ahead.
What the fuck? Speaking of Euron Greyjoy, I had a couple. He played like the same characters he did in Game of Thrones. Like he was like the same person. So I was just like, can you do anything else? But also like, it drove me nuts that they cast a Danish actor to play a German character because he didn't have a German accent, and that took me out of it a little bit because like the second he opened his mouth, I was like, you are not a native German speaker. And that kind of drove me nuts because I really don't think there was a lot of people joining the Nazis that weren't German.
Right.
So to have someone with a so obvious, and I know it's just a movie, but it just bugged me. Okay. There were like 9 million German
He played
actors.
the character that put that corporal up on the hook, right? That was
Yes.
him?
Yeah.
Holy shit. I didn't even really recognize him.
Yeah, I
at all.
recognize
I
that.
didn't either.
I recognize that crazy eye that he had.
Gotcha.
But
wow.
So anyway, I liked about halfway through this movie, I felt that I was sold a horror movie and didn't get a horror movie, so that always disappoints me a little bit.
That's the way I felt as well.
Yeah, I feel like people are kind of capitalizing on how well horror is doing right now, so I feel like even if there is just a little bit of horror element, that they're gonna present it as that just so they can get on that gravy train. Like
there was almost too much Hollywood in this movie.
Yeah, it was a little too Hollywood to make a legit, well-made horror.
Yeah, this had the elements of being a super, super raw movie. Mm-hmm. But I think because Bad Robot was behind it, it was almost too polished.
Did you think it's too clean?
I think it was way too clean.
Gotcha.
I felt like there were points where you could have really gone like Frankenstein's Army style, but again, it was just too polished and too clean. I agree.
Yeah, on one hand, it is nice to not just have like constant zombie attacks because that loses its thrill after a while. But
exactly.
I feel like they could have gone in different directions with it just because of that whole lab and the experimentation thing, and still had more of that horror element without hordes of Nazi zombies. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah,
I feel like
definitely.
it could have could have gone somewhere else.
Do you like the fact that they went with like 6 of these super soldiers versus a horde of zombies?
Yeah, I think just having a couple kind of makes it a lot better than just the horde. Especially, and I think they mentioned, hey, we're not like through testing this yet, so it wouldn't make sense if they had like a horde, because it's like, it's just bad medical practices.
I was saying, are we?
And Josh and I were talking about that earlier. Are they really zombies?
Are they zombies? Yeah.
Well,
I mean, a couple of them were dead and reanimated, but a couple of them weren't either. They were alive when they were injected.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So the use of zombie in this movie, I felt, was kind of free.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it's a catch-all term. I
Yeah.
feel like zombies kind of a catch-all term.
You're right.
Yeah,
But see, that's where I felt like this was kind of a bait and switch, because if you go back to what the trailer was, they kind of built it up that it was going to be this giant Nazi zombie attack thing.
Yeah.
I felt, anyways. And so that's why it kind of disappointed me a little bit, was I was expecting this massive throwdown again, like I said, but, you get 5 or 6 of these weird-looking super soldiers, and it was just like, where's the rest of them? I want to see the creature creation.
Yeah. I feel like, I just feel like I was sold something else. This movie was a prick tease.
Gotcha. Do you want to rate Patrick, or do you got more?
No, I don't have any more. Unless
Greg,
anybody
you got
else
more?
had any last comments.
Nope.
Go ahead.
We review our movies using 3 ratings, and that is the fear factor, the gore score, and our overall rating. Would you recommend it to a friend? So let's start with the fear factor.
Yeah, like 2 or 3. I don't really feel like there's anything really genuinely scary in the movie. Mm-hmm. So that's me.
Yeah, I was going to say I'd give it a 2 or 3. I think, and the only reason I rated it that high is Spine Woman was kind of creepy.
I would say Spine Woman was probably about the only real scare in the movie. There wasn't, I don't even think there were jump scares in
Not
this
really.
other than that one.
I don't even know if I call that really, was it really a jump scare?
No, I think it was just disturbing. And there was a scene in Frankenstein's Army that was almost identical, except they'd sewed the woman onto a teddy bear. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I want one.
Ew.
So I give it about a 3-4.
Cool.
Greg?
Greg?
I'd actually give it a 4. I felt like there were some fairly disturbing images both within the Nazi camp as well as just the horrors of war part of it. I felt like there was some pretty disturbing images. So I say it's pretty decent in a 4.
Cool.
Nice.
Okay, so the second ranking is the gore score.
I'm going to go 6, 7. I thought there's a ton of blood in it. Whether it was gore, like horror blood, or just like blood from gunshots and stuff like that, there was a lot of blood in the movie. They left a lot on the ground. So I think 7's fair.
I agree with Josh.
I'll give it a 5 just because I don't know why I rank horror blood differently from like just blood.
Yeah,
I think I've talked about this before, just like the intent behind it.
Yeah, to me, there's a difference between squibs and getting your throat slashed.
Yeah, like there's a lot more. Like, I'm not saying getting shot with a gun isn't violent. I'm just saying, like, you've got to be a lot more angry to cut someone's head off than you do to shoot them. I feel like those are two totally different types of dispatching there.
I got you.
Yep. I'm probably going to hit it with a 5 as well. Yes, there was a lot of blood and everything, but I feel the same way. The squib shots are a lot different than any type of other gore with someone getting their intestines pulled out of them or anything like that. I think
Cool.
Frankenstein's Army had a little bit more gore in that one. And then finally, the overall ranking, and would you recommend it to a friend?
I would say 7. Right that middle between the critic scores and everything. I'd say 7. I'd totally tell somebody to watch this movie. I didn't know anything about this movie walking into it, and I dug the shit out of it. So I had a ton of fun with it. Yeah, like I said, it was kind of long, but I was never bored. So I thought it was kind of fun. Yeah.
I'll give it a 6. I feel it's good for a 1 watch. It's entertaining, but don't go in with your expectations too high.
And like I said, I liked the fact that it wasn't super zombie heavy. Like, I liked the war. Wasn't even the background for me. That was the main point of the film. That I felt like the zombies were more background than anything. So I appreciated that part of the film. Go ahead, Maddie.
I'll give it a 6 just because I don't like being lied to. Like, I thought if someone had said, hey, this isn't a horror movie, I would have probably rated it higher because I did find it entertaining. But said don't lie to me.
I think I've got to give it about a 7, I think is where it's going to fall for me. I would recommend it to a friend or to anybody else, but I would also preface it by saying it's not strictly a horror film.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed it for the same reasons, Josh, that you enjoyed it. That it kept my attention all the way through, that I enjoyed the war aspect of it almost more than I did the horror aspect of it.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Cool.
Right at that place.
Cool. Should we do, let's plug some stuff and then we'll go.
All right.
Greg.
I am Greg the Movie Guy, and I am positively writing movie reviews over at gregthemovieguy.com.
Cool. Maddie, you got one?
I do, and this is kind of a weird one because it's not anything personal that affects me, but everybody, that new fucking Slipknot album is goddamn fire. That is the best thing I've heard in probably the last 5 or 6 years. I have been listening to it. Unfortunately, all of Patrick's neighbors just listened to it when I came in.
Sweet.
It's so good. I recommend everyone go check it out and listen to it because it's easily their best album in a very long time.
Cool. Prairie Lights Film Festival, October 11th, 12th, and 13th in Grand Island, Nebraska at the historic Grand Theater. It's programmed. It's done. I think it's out, or that should be... The schedule should be out here soon. It's 41 films playing over the 3 days. Ton of really good, fun content. Super cheap to get into the festival. I think it's $5 a day or like $10 for the whole weekend. It gets you, like I said, free popcorn vouchers and free vouchers for some soda. And so that gets you into the festival. Every year I say, if you're an aspiring filmmaker, come hang out there because... you will meet a ton of filmmakers, and if you just don't know kind of how to get started or where to start, they will point you in the correct direction. And they always like to talk about their own shit. So come hang out. It's a super fun weekend, and we'll be there podcasting.
So if you are a fan of the Frightcast, and we know that you are, make sure that you head on over to iTunes or whatever platform you listen to the podcast on, and make sure that you rate and review us. Also, make sure that you check us out on the social medias. We're out there. Just search for Midnight Frightcast. And finally, check out our films at midnightfrightfilms.com.
Is that it for everybody? Cool. So for Greg and Maddie and Patrick and myself, thanks for hanging out at the Midnight Frightcast. We'll see you next time.
Titties.